Okay, you guys, for this cautionary tale, I'm going to talk about a time when I put myself in a very risky situation. And again, if you know this channel, my name is Sherry. The channel is Life Lessons Learned. I take responsibility and accountability for my actions because we're the only ones that can. And it is important that we learn lessons as we go along. And this one actually should have not had to have happened because, well, we all know as you grow older, you don't always grow wiser. But in my opinion, the things that occurred and led up to all of this, I should have known better just with the age that I had reached. So I'm going to talk about how I met this gentleman, where I met him, and what led up to our going out, and how I wound up being in a situation that certainly could have avoided just by looking at the red flags. And for those of you who have watched any of my previous videos, you already know that I believe in getting the pebble upside the head and not necessarily a big giant ass boulder. But it happens to all of us, I guess. And a lot of it has to do with not thinking things through. Um, Trying to be nice or not wanting to hurt someone else's feelings and not thinking about ways to continually protect yourself so you're not facing, any dire consequences. So, with this person, I have a sister that used to do Uber and Lyft. So, she would meet all kinds of people. I'm going to tell you right now, that should have been my first red flag, okay? But during her travels with her customers, she had met this guy and she said he was really animated and he seemed really nice. And he happened to mention to her that he had a event that he was going to be going to the next weekend. And he had invited her and he had given her his business card and everything. And, this sister's like one of the wild and crazy ones though, she has lots of stories to tell. But and normally I'm very cautious when I go places with her because she's the type that sometimes you're not sure if you're going to be um at the end of an event with her, if you're going to be hauled off on a paddy wagon with the cops, or if you're going to make it home safely. I'll just say that. But anyway, she had calmed down at this point in her life, so she wasn't as wild and crazy as she had been in her youth. But you never knew, what would happen with her. Anyway, so she asked me to go to this event with her, and you guys know me. At first, I was like, "This is someone you don't know. He's inviting you to an event. What the hell?" And she was like, "It's an event where it's going to be a lot of people there. It's an outdoor type venue, and it'll be fine." So I said, "Okay." So I did go with her, and that particular event really was nice. It was a bit upper class, and it was like a outside barbecue dinner type event. So, there were drinks and there was lots of food, plenty of food and side dishes and all kinds of meat and things like that. And the people that were coming in were pretty cool. It was a kind of not a loud, noisy venue. The music was low, people were dancing. They had like a dance floor out there. The home had a swimming pool and things like that. And we were going in and out of the house to do different things or get different things. Well, at this event, the guy that had invited her, which was her Uber ride, came up to her and he said, "Hey, I'm really glad you came. I can't believe you made it." And she said, "Yeah, and this is my sister." So she introduced me. And then he introduced me to a friend of his. So I want to make sure you guys are on the right page here. So I'm not talking to the guy that she met during the Uber ride. I'm speaking to a friend of his. And we had nice conversations and we sat at the same table throughout the night. And, he was very gentlemanly. Like I said, all of my dates really are because, you know, the vibes that I give out. And during the course of the night, of course, well, not of course, but during the course of the night, he asked for my phone number and he gave me his. And, that was fine. Well, over the next few weeks, we talked on the phone and texted and things like that because you guys know me. That's what I do before I ever agree to go out with anyone. I want to see how they can put a sentence together, what kind of conversations that they're interested in, what kind of hobbies they have, the things that we should be knowing about people as we're getting to know them. And of course, he's asking me these same things. So it was all good. So at one point, he had invited me out, but he wanted to make like a whole weekend of it. Now, keep in mind, I hadn't gone out with him yet. So I'm thinking a weekend is kind of a bit much, but okay, we're both in our 40s. I'll see where this goes. So I told him, I said, and I probably should explain. So he had explained that there was an event going on in a city that was a couple of hour, about an hour and a half away from us. And so that's why he wanted to make it like a weekend thing. We would go early that morning, have breakfast, meet some of his friends because he had people that were that he knew in this other city, and he said they were having some type of a event as well, and he just wanted me to meet and greet with them and everything, and then we would go to this um, concert that would be outside in this downtown of this city, and then go to the hotel that night and then get up early the next day and come back. Now, just so you know, you already if you haven't seen my other videos, just watch them. You know that hotel for me does not mean oh, okay, or hotel. So I said, well, as long as you have two beds there, and it's a pretty big space, then I'm fine with that. I said because we're not a couple, so but we can both be adults, so at least I'm thinking we can. So as the story goes on, I I went to his home for breakfast. Now I'm going to be pointing out these red flags, okay, you guys. So you'll see that I'm saying when I'm saying we put ourselves in risky situations, there's signs that we can see and say, maybe this isn't right. So my first one, like I said, was this particular sister, because normally the people that she meets, I'm like, let me see how this is going to be. But I shouldn't say that because, like I said, it was a customer of hers, so we don't want to judge too harshly. But when I got to his home, and I was supposed to meet him there at I think it was like 8:30 or 9 because we were going to eat breakfast at his place and then get on the road to get to this other city. So when I got there, I hate to say this, remember we're not teenagers, okay? So I'm in my early 40s. He was in his mid 40s. So we're talking grown people. But when I got there, i- i- he had a table in his home in the kitchen area and two chairs. And the other chairs were like still in the boxes as if he had, just purchased it and he was putting his table set together. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, if you just bought it and you're putting everything together and you're expecting someone to come over, maybe you only would do the two. But that should have but another red flag right there. But I'm like, okay, you know how we make excuses for these red flags, and we always come up with some kind of reason why they're not red flags when they are. But anyway, so he did make breakfast for us, which was really nice. We had something like I think it was link sausage, eggs with cheese, and I think he had either pancakes or French toast. I can't remember, but it was a pretty decent breakfast. And we sat and talked and everything. And then when it was time for us to go, he said, and remember also that normally, I drive to places so that way it's not awkward if things are not working out. But we're going to another city. So he was like, well, there's no sense of you following me for an hour and a half. He said, well, I'll just, use my car. So I said, oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. So my car was parked in his driveway and we were going to go together. No big deal. Well, when we got to the city, so we left probably about, listen, we were done with breakfast at about, I want to say 10:30. We got on the road. Plus, we didn't want to be on the road at 9 o'clock, rush hour traffic. So we said we are going about 10:30, 11. That makes sense. And then, get to the hotel, sign in, go over to meet his friends, that kind of thing. So we got to the other city, I want to say about 12:30 or 1. And on the way, he asked if I wanted to stop and get something to eat. And I'm thinking, well, we just had breakfast. But again, and this isn't a red flag. I'm thinking sometimes guys, um, they expend more energy than we do. And so sometimes they can eat and, it doesn't show or anything, but they can eat breakfast and then eat 2 hours later, have a big lunch, and then after that, have a hearty meal for dinner. So I'm like, okay. But I said I wasn't hungry because I wasn't. But he said, well, he wanted to stop, at a restaurant. So he asked me what restaurant did I want to go to. And again, I'm not the hungry one. So I was like, just choose what you prefer eating because I'm not going to order anything, seriously. And I am not one of those to say I'm not going to order and then stop picking off their plate or looking like I'm have it, now I want to order something. I really did. So we stopped at a Red Lobster and he got, a big lunch meal and he ate that and but he was like, I feel comfortable. I'm sitting here eating and you're not. I said, don't, but really, I'm fine. My lemon water is good. I just had that breakfast. I'm good. Plus, I was under the, I knew that we would be going out later, so I was okay with that. So by the time we got to the place where we were going, we got to the hotel area and we were signed in. And he was, going up to the desk so we can get signed in and everything. And we get to the room and there's not two beds. Okay. Just, I'm saying that up front. So I was like, um, are we in the right room? And he was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Okay. Too old to be this stupid at 40. I forgot to tell you that the rooms because of the event that's in town, the rooms that they had you know, two bed occupancy were full. He said, so is this going to be okay? So I'm thinking, well, yeah, because I can sleep on the couch. I don't mind doing that. And I should tell you that I had mentioned to one of my friends on the phone about this whole thing because she knows me. That she was like, I can't believe you're going. It's going to be for the whole weekend. I said, so me with my silly self, yeah, I want to, order something sexy to wear, and because you never know what may happen, so you want to be prepared. And she was like, no. You don't know this guy. This is your first time going out with him. You don't need anything sexy to wear. He hasn't earned that yet. So she said, get yourself, two-piece pajamas, actually be fully clothed, she said, and let him know that, that you had said you wanted the two beds. And so, stick with your plan and that kind of thing. So I thought about it and I said, yeah, she's right. I don't want to, you know, if your friend can't come, if you can't come along, can you bring a friend type of thing? So I said, yeah, she's right. I'll, keep my cool. So that's what I did. So so when we were there, we're just getting to the hotel. He had just ate that, lunch meal, and he said he was tired. So he said, I hate to tell you this, but my friends are not going to friends that we were supposed to be going to meet. Okay, so keep this in mind. I'm not going to be home for a while. So do you, I would like to take a nap. So I was like, Okay, okay. So when I was on my way to his house, he lived about a good half hour away from me. So I was like, okay, well, now I can take a nap as well. So, but I said, your friends do know we're coming, right? And he was like, yeah, they do. So I didn't want to like get undressed to take a nap. So I was like, well, I'm gonna, lie on the couch out here and I'll just keep my clothes on. And then when we're ready to go, that's fine. So he said, okay. But he said it with like a smirk on his face, like, yeah, right. But I was like, yeah, that is right. So, that's what we did. And then I got up probably, I mean, a nap to me is anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. My daughter says that's not a nap, that's going bad, but 'cause she takes like really quick naps. But I'm like, no, I'm taking a nap. So I got up probably about 2 hours later and he was still asleep, which is fine. I'm like, I didn't care. So I was just like, looking at stuff on my cell phone and kind of just diddly daddling around. And then, so 3 o'clock came, 4 o'clock came, 5 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, even if his friends were at work, they would probably be on their way home now. And if they're having an event, I'm sure they would, be getting ready for it. But I wasn't comfortable with waking him up. I was like, well, maybe I'll just let him sleep. So, that's what I did. And then at about, I want to say 7:30 or 8, he wakes up and he's like, why didn't you wake me up? And I said, well, you didn't ask me to, and you said you were tired, and I don't know your friends or anything, so I figure whenever you get up, we could get ready to go. Well, he said, yeah, let me call them. They're gonna think we're late. So he does get on his phone. I do see him do that, and he dials, and then nothing. And I was like, what happened? He was like, they didn't pick up, and I was like, Okay, don't they have voicemail? Because normally you would hear someone leave a message." He said, "No, I think it's full." Okay. Now things start to kick in for me. I'm like, okay, so he probably doesn't have any friends here, or if he does, the plan wasn't ever to go see them. Um, the room doesn't have two beds, it only has the one. He takes a nap, and now all of a sudden he can't get in touch with his friends. So I said, well, it's no big deal because you said there was going to be an event, some type of a concert in the downtown area. We can just go to that. I said, and then if you want to, we can, contact your friends later. This knucklehead goes, well, I'm ready for dinner now. Okay. Honestly, at this time, I'm ready for dinner because if you remember, I didn't have the lunch and I had breakfast at his place. So it's 8:30 at night. So I was like, well, yeah, I can, I'm kind of hungry now at this point. I said, but aren't they going to have food at the event? He says, well, I'm not really sure where the event what is. My friend was, going to tell me about it and everything, and I can't get in touch with him. I said, so we're not going to the event either? And he said, I really don't feel like going out. So I said, okay, well, what were you planning on eating? And he said, we can just order something. We can just order something. So we left our city to go 2 cities over to go to a hotel to order something to eat, make it stop. But I'm like, oh, okay. Now I see where this game plan is. And guess what? Two can play that game, okay? So I said, well, what do you want to order? And he said, well, it's probably only going to be stuff like pizza or something like that. And I said, okay, that's fine. So he ordered that and he asked if I wanted to watch TV. Okay, may as well watch TV. So we did that. And then it's going on 10:30, 11 o'clock. He says he's calling his friend and I can see him doing that, but no results. Okay. So finally I was like, well, it's going to be too late to do anything anyway. I said, we may as well, go home. And he was like, well, but I've already paid for the hotel, so we may as well stay here in the night and get up in the morning and go. So again, I was okay with that. So I said, well, let me go into the restroom and I'll change because I'm not going to sleep in my clothes now. So I changed into, the full pajama set that my friend had told me to get. And it was not like form fitting or anything like that. It was nice, but it wasn't, you know, anything that's going to start anything. So he said that he would not let me sleep on the couch. He'll have me sleep in the bed, which was fine. So I went on to lie down in the bed. And I think I went like almost right to sleep. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, to make this long story short, too late. Um, sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up and he's in the bed with me, but he's clothed. Okay, so it wasn't like he was nude or anything like that, and I certainly wasn't. And you know how you do that cup that put the covers like in the middle of you like a fortress or something, and you have a little, it's there like a stiff wall or whatever between you. Shouldn't use the word stiff. But so that's what I did because I was like, this knucklehead. Well, the next morning, I got up really early and I caught my friend and I was like, he's asleep right now. I said, I guess we're gonna go back home. And she said, yeah, you will. And I said, well, and I had gotten up like really early, like at 6 o'clock a.m. or something like that. Because, I wasn't sleeping that well with them. But I said, well, what do you think I should do? She said, go in there, go in that bathroom, get dressed, be fully dressed, have your hair done, your makeup back on, and let him know you're ready to go when he gets up. And I said, God dang it, she's right again. So that's what I did. He got up at about maybe 25 minutes after I'd gotten up, and by that time I'm dressed and I had my phone out and I was doing work on my little computer or whatever. And then he came out of the bedroom and saw me fully dressed. He said, what's this all about? And I said, what? He said, why are you fully dressed and on, working on your computer or on your phone? And I was like, well, we didn't do anything last night. He was like, yeah, that wasn't because of me. I was like, oh, so now he's the one upset, right? Knucklehead. And I said, no, nothing was because of anyone. I'm going to play really stupid now. I was like, no, it wasn't because of anyone. Your friends weren't home. We didn't go to the event. You didn't know where it was at. It's all good. So he was like, well, it's not that good. What do you want to do now? I said, well, we might as well head home, like you said. He said, head home. I was like, yeah. He was like, so you want to go home? I said, well, if you want to stop to get breakfast, we can do that. He said, yeah, I'm hungry. So he went on and got dressed. You can hear him throwing stuff around and being pissed and everything. But I'm like, don't get me started. So we went to the hotel lobby. You know how they have breakfast, the restaurant there, and you can order breakfast and everything. And we sat at they had those almost like when you're in a bar or a lounge where they have the leather seats, but it's all one thing. You know how you have to ask people to excuse me so you can get in and sit where you're sitting. Well, we had gotten there early, so there was really not a lot of people there. And we chose that section where it was just us. But as the morning was going on, it was getting more and more crowded. So some people were trying to get to their part of the table section for them. And he wouldn't move his leg. And so the lady said, "Oh, excuse me, sir." And he just sat there. And I was like, you might want to get closer to me. He's all out now. You didn't want me to get close to you last night. Oh my God. All these folks looking at me, looking at him. And I was like, no, he freaking didn't. But anyway, so he wound up moving and they were able to get in. And then he sat there mad the whole time, stabbing his food and that kind of thing. I was like, I don't even give a damn at this point. So he got done with his breakfast, and I had breakfast too. And then we were getting in the car, and he said, he had something to do, or his son had something to do, so he had to hurry up and get back. So I was like, okay, no problem. And again, remember, this is going to be an hour and a half drive or so. So while he's driving, he's freaking dozing off on the highway. So I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "What?" I said, "You need to pull over and I can drive back the rest of the way." And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "I'm as sure as death at this point." So that's what we did. He pulled over and I got into the driver's seat and he got on the passenger side and I drove the rest of the way back. And then when we got to his place, his son was already there. His son didn't live with them, but his son was there. And he was like, "Dad, I didn't know you were going to be gone that long." And I said, "Is there a problem?" And he was like, yeah, this is my son's car. So why couldn't we have just taken my car and then you're not holding up your son from whatever he has to do for that day?" And the son wasn't like pissed or anything, but he was like, I got to go. I have to get to work." So I was like, geez. But so the guy thought that I was going to go into his house, but I was like, this, you don't have a clue that this is not. So he was like, "You're not coming in?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to go ahead and get in my car and go home." He said, "But that's another hour away or 45 minutes away." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll make it." He was like, "Well, call me when you get in." I said, "Okay." You already know the end of that story. Didn't call him, didn't text him ever again. He called me a few times and texted me a few times, and I didn't respond. But what I wanted to say with all of that is that entire story could have been totally different because I'm in another city with him. Like this is the first date. We're at a freaking hotel. Um, he is a man, so it's not like I'm be a Wonder Woman and fight somebody off. So I never should have put myself in that precarious situation to begin with. And like I said, normally I do all of the driving. I don't let people know where I live and I have to really get to know people and everything. But I'm thinking we're past our 40s. It's not going to be any monkey business. I let you know how, what my stance is, and you can let me know what yours is. But too often we as women put ourselves in these stupid ass situations. And then when things don't work out, and oftentimes they don't, we're and I'm not going to say we blame other people because if they do something to you, that is on them. They have to be responsible and accountable for what they do as well. But we have to begin to protect ourselves and make sure that we're not putting ourselves in situations where it will be very difficult for us to extricate ourselves. In fact, when my one of my daughters, because I talked to her about that, and she was like, "You could have called me. I don't give a damn about you being 2 cities away. I would have come to get you." I was like, "But do I really want at 40 something years old having my daughter to come and rescue me from a stupid situation that I put myself in?" Now, sometimes you may need that. I was like, No, I'm going to be okay. I'll handle this, and this will not be going on again." So again, this is life lessons learned. Please share or comment for sure what you would have done in that particular situation. And some of you probably say, "Well, I wouldn't have been in that situation." Number one, and I hadn't even gone out with the guy. I would definitely wouldn't have gone for a weekend with him, and everything else. So I get that, and I'm not even mad about it because I don't, like I said, blame other people or take criticism the wrong way. I do take everything as positive feedback, and as they say, when you learn the lesson, when you and I it's not funny at all because like I said, that could have been a totally different thing. But when you lose, don't lose the lesson. Okay. So again, too, my whole thing is knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And the learning of a lesson is the application of it. And for me, the application of it was never contacting him again, not picking up on his calls, not doing any of that. He got the message. So that happened with that. But wanted to, like I said, I'll be dropping my videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And please share, like, and make your comment. And again, this is Sherry. Thanks.